उन्मुक्त गगन में उड़े चलो, हाथों में विजय मशाल लिए विश्वास पर अपने खड़े रहो, अड़े रहो, अड़े रहो, अड़े रहो। Sir, over to you, sir. The stage is all yours. A big round of applause for our first speaker, General V.P. Malik. CEO Army, General V.P. Malik, sir.
Can you hear me with this? Can you hear me with this? Second thing is, can you see the screen, please? आप लोगों को शायद नजर नहीं आएगा, आप इधर आ जाइए. Those who cannot see. Mr. Prasad, Mr. Rao, Mr. Tripathi, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, it's a great pleasure for me to be here and to be able to speak and interact with you. I had no knowledge of Coal India till a few days ago when I was invited here. Then I went to the website. I mean, knowledge in the sense that I didn't realize that it was such a big organization, the largest producer of coal in the whole world. So it's a great pleasure to be here and to be interacting with you. My talk is basically how we inculcate ethics and integrity and our value system amongst our soldiers. I'm speaking more from the experience in the army. Of course, I've been director with some companies also as independent director. So I have that knowledge also. But my emphasis is how we inculcate all these things which are more important for the leaders in the army. And I'll be speaking from my experience. I have no bookish knowledge at all. In fact, as Mr. Prasad mentioned to you, that at the age of 15 and a half, I went to NDA. And thereafter, it's been whatever I have done in uniform. Let me just start with an anecdote. When Kargil War took place, at that time, India and USA, as far as defense issues were concerned, we were not on talking terms. And the reason was because we had carried out nuclear test in 1998. I was chief at that time. So there was absolutely no interaction with each other. But after Kargil War, the Americans invited me to USA, and I addressed a number of gatherings all over USA. And in one of the gatherings in Washington DC, comprised the think tank people, and some journalists were also there. So they asked me that, look, under those very difficult, challenging circumstances, how did you win the war? And my answer to them was, because it was a righteous war. Because somebody was trying to encroach our territory, and we had to prevent that. And the second most important thing in our organization, we have a very strong value system, and honesty, integrity, and all those issues, particularly ethics, are so strong that our men will sacrifice their lives, but they will not let the enemy win. That was the main reason. So an organization which is strong in integrity, in ethics, will always be winning. Let me start with human capital. These days, all of us, we talk more about technology, but sometimes we tend to forget that human capital is more important than technology. And in the army, they say the man behind the gun is more important. We keep changing the guns, but what is more important is the man behind the gun. These days, the women are also there. They are also using the guns. And there is a quote from a book written by Chinese strategist Sun Tzu, and the name of the book is the art of war. In that he had said that if you have good human capital, victory and rewards will follow. And when we are talking of human capital, what is more important is leadership. And I can understand all the leaders are here of Coal India. Glad to be interacting with them. So I'll be repeating some of the things that responsibility that we have as leaders. Now, what is ethics? Basically, ethics is a question, is a moral principle that we adopt at home, as in Hindi they say sanskar, and then we learn in our schools, colleges, amongst our colleagues, and in the organization. Finally, in the organization. That is important. And they are the ones which govern our conduct and behavior in whichever organization we are. And ethics is important, both personally as well as for the organization. If today we talk about corporate, you can count so and so is an ethical organization. So and so, I'm not going to name these. They are unethical organizations. And that is where the reputation matters. The brand name matters. Today nobody will speak ill of the army because they understand that by and large we do follow very strict code, moral values, and it is an ethical. And therefore ethics is important both as individuals as well as an organization. And otherwise you will not be able to do well either in society or in the job that you are assigned. And as leaders, as I said, we have a very important role of how to inculcate these ethics and integrity and all these issues in our organization. Now, just to explain to you, in the army, our training never stops. In fact, I don't think in any organization the training stops. The training, as you keep rising in your career, you will keep on training yourself, or you will get trained for the next job that you are going to do. Now, we have three components of our training which are important. All the way from the time, let's say when I joined NDA, and those three components are, first is the most important, ethics and value system. And that right from NDA that I learned, we had an honor code. An honor code, if you did something good, it was considered, yes, you are all right. If you did something wrong, you got punished. You got warning, punished. I mean, that depended on the kind of wrongdoing that you did. But honor code was the first thing that I learned at the age of 15 and a half in NDA. I'm not talking of my sanskar. I'm talking of now, when I joined, I started wearing the uniform. And then, along with that, we also try and inculcate the national spirit. We try to regimental spirit. We are very proud of our whichever regiment that we may have. You have so many organizations, so many different departments that you have got. Each one has got a CMD. So all that is important. Then the professional knowledge, which never stops. Even today I keep reading, writing, because I want to, what is happening. Professional knowledge never stops. That is the second component. And the third is the leadership training. Here I am afraid the corporate is lagging behind as compared to the armed forces. For us, leadership starts from the day you start wearing uniform. If you cannot become a Nayak or a Havildar unless you have passed a certain examination and you have been considered fit for that job. And you'll be surprised, from colonel rank onwards, 50% of our officers do not make it to the next rank because we have very limited vacancies. Our pyramid is very sharp. So if I become chief, You can imagine one person out of 1.1 or 1.2 million people. So that's a very sharp pyramid, and that amongst the officers we have about 39,000 officers, and in that there is only one chief. So the reason is because at every rank after Lieutenant Colonel, you drop off 50% people. It's not that they are not good people, they are good people. But because the vacancies are not there, therefore, so it's a very competitive thing, and that all is leadership. That is what is leadership, which, and as I said, a leader's responsibility is to train and gel his team together, distribute work fairly, synchronize team action, and putting everything in one mistake, and keep the team highly motivated. That is the responsibility of a leader, whether you are at a lower level or at a higher level. Leadership starts not at the level of vice president and president. It starts from the time you have 4 or 5 people working under you. And that is how you keep rising. Now, I have distributed 3 levels of our training and development in the army. And you will notice that at 2 levels, junior level as well as middle level, ethics comes first. That is the first and foremost thing. At the middle level, you are not only to be seen to be ethical, but you are also expected to enforce ethics and integrity. And at the senior level, you may not be taught what is ethics, but you have to make sure that ethics is enforced in your entire thing. I have given, very briefly, I have given to you what we have training at the junior level, at the middle level, and at the senior level. My own experience has been that if a youngster did something wrong, I would warn him and tell him that don't do it again. Maybe second time also I may warn. But at a senior level, I've had to do this job quite often. I would not tolerate unethical conduct. I've had to sack people. At a senior level, if somebody does that, I will not accept it. That has been my attitude as far as ethics and value system is concerned. Juniors, they learn, so you can, even at the middle level. But at the senior level, we don't accept that, these things. Now, I have picked up 10 principles, principles. 5 I am going to describe to you just now, and 5 I will do it little later. First, of course, is honesty. Truth in all forms of communication and action. And you must be able to share good and bad news with equal candor. There's a tendency to hide bad news from your boss, which is a wrong thing. Let me give you an anecdote. When I was to become army chief, the defense minister, a few days earlier, he called me and he said, General Sahab, आपको तो मालूम है अभी आपका नंबर आ रहा है चीफ के लिए. I said, जी हाँ. He says, आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में बिलीव करते हैं? तो I was a little surprised. I asked him, I said कि आप ये सवाल क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में तो हम लोग we take the oath on that, when we are commissioned, we have to take an oath on the constitution of our country. तो इसे कि हम तो नेता हैं और नेता को लोग बड़े आते हैं काम करने के लिए, कराने के लिए, और कभी किसी की प्रमोशन का काम होता है, कभी किसी की पोस्टिंग का काम होता है. तो जब ऐसी चीज़ें आएंगी तो हम फिर आपको ही बोलेंगे करने के लिए. That was a very tricky thing to handle. So I told him, I said, देखिए जो आप कहेंगे मैं देखूंगा, अगर वो देश के हित में है, मेरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के हित में है, तो मैं ज़रूर करूंगा. लेकिन जो चीज़ देश के हित में नहीं होगी, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के हित में नहीं होगी, तो वो आपके भी हित में नहीं होगी, मैं नहीं करूँगा। I told him point blank. He never asked me again for posting and promotion. In fact, we had a big fight on it. So you have to find an answer. You cannot give it to people. I'm talking about the bosses and all. Sometimes when these are wrong demands are made, you should be frank enough. You should have that ethics, that pride to be able to do. Integrity. I'll give you another example. I suppose you can read what is written here, isn't it? Some people are. No, some disturbance here. क्या बात है? So as long as you're paying attention to me, if you're not paying attention, please don't listen to me. I've come only for you people here. So this anecdote took place during a press conference during Kargil War. And before that, I had been making statement that the army doesn't have adequate weapon system or modern weapon system, and we are short of these. So during that press conference, one journalist got up and he said, "Sir, you've been complaining about lack of weapon system or having old weapon system. So how are you going to fight the war now? Now this war is on." So I promptly replied, I said that we shall fight with whatever we have. I mean, you can't at that moment say, I will not fight the war. So I said, we shall fight with whatever we have. Now some people who are responsible for getting us weapon system, and they have their own procedure, etc., they didn't like it. They went to the Prime Minister, and a couple of days later, we were walking together, Rajesh Mishra, Mr. Bajpai and I. And Bajpai ji looked at me and he said, "General Sahab, आपने ये उस दिन बोला था प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में?" मैंने कहा हाँ बोला था। कि वो सही बात थी? So I said, हाँ सही बात थी, तभी तो मैंने बोला था वहाँ पर। Now I realized that some people probably चुगली करो कि तो ठीक नहीं था। Then I looked at him, I told Prime Minister, I said, "Sir, I have a following of 1.1 or 1.2 billion people. They know what is the situation in the army today. If I had said something else, my boys would have told me that our chief indulges in double speak. कहता कुछ है, करता कुछ है, and all that. And if that happens in my organization, people will not follow my orders. They will not go and face the bullets. I cannot afford that. I cannot afford that." After that, Bajpai Sahab never touched the subject.